Hello and welcome to Tap 45 from Navan, our first flat tap. I'm Declan Carroll and I'm joined by Andy Cummins. Andy, we've switched roles this week.
Yeah,
We've moved on to the
absolutely.
flat. A lot of people are very confused. But you're the flat man. Absolutely love it. So it's
it.
best I say less and you take over this week. How are you?
I'm very well, man. Yeah, absolutely. Delighted to actually finally get a flat tap in. We have discussed it. There's just been a lot of jumps racing, and the jumps racing has been good to us. So the thing I like though about the flat, especially the sprint races, is your heartbreak is done in a minute instead of halfway down the back straight when they make a mistake. So no, thoroughly looking forward to it, Dec. Good card as well. So let's get into it.
Definitely looks a good card. See, I like the misery. I like my horse to be off the bridle for 3 miles, and I think if he goes by 1 or 2, we might get back into it, and it never happens. But I find I get me money's worth. Whereas if you're at a flat meeting and you're looking down the track and you can't see them, it's a 6 furlong sprint, 5 furlong sprint at Nace or Navan, and they break. Your horse is not in it, never gets into it, and then he's beaten before he goes by you. I prefer when my horses, even if he's not going well, he gets to go by it at some stage. But I suppose we haven't had the ground to enjoy the flat yet. Really, it's been heavy ground horses deserve their chance as well. But flat racing's a bit like hurling, isn't it? It needs to be played on proper summer ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you don't see the best of it. But we have an 8 race card, so we better get stuck into it. And we start with the Kilberry Apprentice Handicap over 5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. There's 3 of them that caught my eye here, Andy. Senado Square got upset in the stalls at Dundalk the last day. He had won previously. He didn't get home. He was 5-4 favourite, well fancy. It's no wonder he didn't get home. He banged his head in the stalls as well. He had won 2 of his previous 3 before that, but he has run poorly at Navan before, so that's why I'm just a little bit cold on him. 7 Seas, he's been running over a mile. Didn't run too badly in his only handicap, and he dropped back in the maiden company there, and he's coming right back to 5 furlongs. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen a lot of improvement, but I suppose my selection would probably be Fiku. He's a big price to see, just before we came on. I thought Fiku shot enough in maidens before being up to 7 furlong on handicap debut. Keen and didn't stay back to 5 furlongs. I'd be expecting him a big run, hopefully running into a place. But that's my thoughts on this. I'll pass it to you now, and you can take it away.
Yeah, 3-year-old Fiku. Yeah, very interesting that he's gelded first time as well. Andy Oliver as well just had a decent enough spell. So 50-1, big prize, all right. And then who else you mentioned there was Senado Square. He wouldn't be without a chance either. And then of course the other one you mentioned actually by See the Moon, 7 Seas. You don't see many See the Moons over 5 furlongs, but
no.
You see usually you might in a 2-year-old maiden if some of them are very early, which they're usually not. But I don't think I've ever seen a See the Moon over 5 furlongs. You could not pick probably a more difficult race for a first flat tap deck. This is really difficult, and it's unsurprising you're getting full fields as well. A lot of these horses would have been waiting for better ground, which obviously, as you alluded to at the start of the podcast, you just did not have. So you'd have to probably err on the side of caution with this particular heat. Shoebox King is the one I thought might run okay. Came back down to a fair enough mark of 60. Might be a little bit vulnerable for win purposes, but has ran well at the track before, and I think he'd be the one now that if he isn't winning this time, he'd be getting his turn quite soon. Avatar Jet as well from stall 1, and here we go, Dec. I know you're going to probably poke fun when I start talking about stall biases, because this is a track, the Navan sprint track. It can vary. One side might be quicker than the other, which I know you love to hear. Probably one of your favorite things about the flat is stall bias. Avatar Jet though, first time gelded as well, which is unsurprising as we're at the start of the season. He ran 666 just like the devil in 3 maidens, and he's ran behind decent enough horses. Navas Island being one of them, who we'll talk about a little bit later. He's ran eye-catchingly 3 times, and he comes back to this minimum trip for 5 furlongs for the first time. I think he could go very, very well if stall 1 is kind to him. And another 3-year-old Dec as well, Artful Approach for Jack Davison, who's had an incredible start to the season. Up-and-coming trainer. He's been in the ranks now for a few years, but I would nominate him as a trainer to follow. He does an excellent job with his horses. Artful Approach is another one, having his first start at 5 furlongs, despite being bred for it. He's by Memas. Start 2 runs over a mile and 1 over 7 furlongs. He's a 33 to 1 shot, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race, given his pedigree. It could be a sighter for another handicap. He's probably one to keep an eye on. My selection though, Dec, will be Avatar Jet, with the eye cast to Shoebox King and Artful Approach, maybe for the tap tracker for a month or two's time. But I do like Avatar Jet. I think he's a pretty nice chance, and I think a mark of 69 might let him in a little bit lightly on handicap debut.
Nice, very good. Just on the stall bias, like I always believed that speed bias was more important than draw bias. But I think the way we're watering now, particularly in Britain, that draw bias is becoming more of a thing. And you only have to look at it. Look, the biggest meeting of the year is the perfect example, Royal Ascot.
Even money that you're on the right side before you even have a bet.
Yeah, like I think it's the way they're watering it. It's ruining it for you. Like, it is over before you leave the stalls. I always firmly believe speed boys was more important, but it's definitely swinging. But anyway, we'll move on to the 145 Irish Stallion Farms ABF maiden for, I nearly said maiden hurdle there. Just rolls off the tongue.
Not just yet.
5.5 furlongs. Andy, this is all your thing now. I'm useless at this, so I'm hoping to learn off you through the summer. But I suppose I will get into the 2-year-olds as we go on. But they're all unraced. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, another extreme sport, probably back in 2-year-olds this early in the season. Look, there's 2 horses here that take the eye on paper, and it doesn't take, it doesn't take the best form analyst or big racing fan to kind of find them. It's Camille Pizarro, a wooden basset out of Entreat. He's a half brother to the Commonwealth Cup winner Golden Horde, which obviously makes him of automatic interest. And he's from either the first or second crop of wooden bassets, Irish contingent, since he was bought by Coolmore a few years ago. He obviously takes the eye. He's even money. Aidan O'Brien hasn't had a 2-year-old winner yet, I don't believe. He had a couple placed at the Curragh last weekend. Look, he's obviously of automatic interest, but I would side with Donica O'Brien's filly, as I think she might be a little bit more ready first time up, and that's Sorella Carina. She is a half sister to last year's Royal Ascot Albany winner and Cheveley Park winner Porta Fortuna. So she would obviously be of automatic interest. She cost 400,000 guineas as a yearling last year. I think Aidan O'Brien's one, though, cost 1.25 million. Camille Pizarro, big money purchase. But I do think Sorella Carina, as I said, Porta Fortuna managed to win on debut last year before going on to win the Albany, and she was obviously very, very good 2-year-old. Donica O'Brien has also noticeably done very well with 10 Sovereigns as a sire. He's trained plenty of winners by the sire, and is on record as saying he really likes the stallion himself. Going through the rest of the card deck, or the rest of the runners, look, price tag isn't obviously the be all and end all, but when you have 2 in here, especially this early in the season, when it's usually, for a lack of a better term, cheap speed at this time of the year, they do very much cast the eye. Your call obviously being by Soldier's Call, Noel Meade, he can ready one as well, 25 to 1. You'd want to see these in the ring though before you're kind of really getting excited about them, but at least you have with Sorella Carina, at least you have last year's evidence that Porta Fortuna was very, very good early and managed to win on debut. So I would side with her, but I wouldn't be recommending anybody getting too heavily involved in this race.
Okay, well, the selection was
It
Sorella
was
Karina.
Sorella Karina, yeah, absolutely. Just touching on the 2-year-olds from last Sunday. I'm not going to give an anti-post tip for the Coventry because I'm not daft, but if anybody did get the opportunity to go back and see Joseph's horse from last week, the name has just escaped me, but extremely impressive, and I'd say he's the best 2-year-old I've seen in the early stages of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up at Royal Ascot. I think he is already anti-post Coventry favourite. The name has just escaped me though. Let me just find it real quick for you. Big long name on him. Coward of the Country. Yeah.
Sorry, Andy, go on.
Coward of the Country. Coward of the Country. Or Coward of the County, sorry. Coward of the County. Cody Bear, Cold. Very, very impressive.
Just on the 2-year-olds, I wouldn't be mad on following anything we've seen or even anything that was impressive because, like, yesterday was bitter cold. You know, it was lovely last weekend, but yesterday was bitter cold. They must be way behind, you know. And even you're saying you'd want to see them in the ring. I'm not even sure what you'd be looking for after the spring we've had. I don't think there's going to be much to see at all. It's been like we must be way behind this year, you know.
We're on the same boat though, I suppose, at the same time, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. But like I think you'll find, you know, anything that's way ahead now will be quickly caught up, I'd imagine, as we look. Often that happens is you call it cheap speed, but these precocious types, they're out early, they're fast, you know, they're trying to book their spot at Royal Ascot. I just think when it comes to Royal Ascot, I think you'll get a lot of big price winners this year if the weather doesn't pick up very, very soon, because they must be way behind. But anyway, we'll move on to the 215. The Space Traveller Irish EBF Committed Stakes. This is a listed race. You mentioned big price tags, Andy. How much did this thing cost last year before going to Royal Ascot? Give me the decoys. He is in familiar jump colours. Solness got talked about a lot during the winter. Same owners, they must have loads of money. He has one on soft ground here, but he's certainly one I'd want to take on. The one I'd give a chance to is the Ger Lions, my mate Alfie. He is fit. He was toured in the Red Rocks at Leopardstown the last day, and he drops back 1 furlong, having probably not stayed. But what do you think?
Yeah, my mate Alfie's trying sprinting for the first time in quite a while. I don't think he's sprinted since June of last year. As you said, he is race fit, and I'd say Colin Keane is going to bust him out here and, you know, try and make this a real test at the trip. Maybe try and make all the running. He wouldn't be out of it by any means. As you said there, give me the beat, boys. Dec 109 rated, 15 to 8 at the minute, depending on where you look. But as I said, he's by Bungling the Jungle out of a Dutch Art mare. Very, very talented juvenile. Might have been a little bit better value than the winning or the defeated margin suggested when he ran in the Coventry. But I would just be worried about his ability to have trained on. I do think he's a very much a 2-year-old pedigree, and that's why he's 15 to 8 and not even money, given he's rated 109. Alabama, a bit of an overrated horse. Unfortunately, I think he was touted up by Aidan O'Brien at the start of last year, and he hasn't been able to shake that reputation. Going through the field deck, there is 2 I like in it. One of them is Military, who's tongue-tied first time. He's by Sayuni out of an Ifraj mare. Wayne Gordon taking the ride, so he's not Aidan O'Brien's first string. He's shaped in all his runs, in my opinion, like a sprinter. He obviously won at Nace on debut at 7-2 on, done it quite well, and was placed then in group company at Leopardstown, and he ran well in the Madrid on seasonal reappearance at Nace behind Take Me to Church of Jack Davison's. Just got quite tired in the ground. He was a little bit behind my mate Alfie there, but there was a 6-pound swing there. My mate Alfie was carrying 9.6, Military carrying 9.12. They finished, I think, a half length between each other, with the favour of my mate Alfie. So I do think Military will be able to reverse the form with him. And coming back to sprinting, I think he could actually go very, very well. And I think 9 to 1's a big, big price about him. The other one is Navassa Island of Mick O'Callaghan's, having her first start of the season. Very good juvenile last year. I thought she'd shape like she'd improve from 2 to 3 as well. She was placed in Group Company as well, Group 3 Company at Ayr, I think, and she was probably a little bit unlucky not to win more races than her sole win in maiden company. To be honest, at 5 and 9 to 1 Dec, I'd nearly take both of them against the field. I do think Military is quite overpriced. I wouldn't be surprised if that 9 to 1 was looking quite good near the off as well. You would usually know with that stable, but Military and Navan Island, I'd happily Dutch them against the field there.
No, happy days. I think Mick O'Callaghan does have quite a decent record at Navan, particularly with 2-year-olds. Obviously, these are a year older. But we will move on to the 252 over 1 mile, 2 furlongs. Irish Stallion Farms EBF Salzburg Stakes Group 3 for the fillies. I think this is very, very competitive, Andy. I really struggled working this one out. I have Azalea. She's improved from her debut to win at Cork last autumn. Belletza, Ger Lyons filly, once raced. One I really, really liked last year, was quite disappointed with her at Newmarket, was Caught You Looking, Noel Mead's filly. She was 2 from 2 before that. I'd be prepared to forgive her that run, and you know I'm partial to an Noel Mead filly on the flat. But I think the one that's going to take all the beating is probably Purple Lily, Paddy Toomey filly. She's 2 from 2. She won well at Nice in March, and she'd be my idea of the winner here. What do you think?
Yeah, Purple Lily definitely sets the standard, Dec, for sure. And this is kind of where pedigrees can sometimes mug you off. She's by Calix out of an Approve mare. Approve was a borderline disaster at stud. He was a sprinter. I think he ended up in Turkey. Calix, obviously, very, very impressive, devastating, really, Coventry Stakes winner. Just very, very hard to train. And here she is, even money for a 10 furlong group race as a 3-year-old. So it is, they as you said, pedigrees can mug you off, but she very much sets the standard. She shaped like 10 furlongs would be no problem on her reappearance. She was quite impressive in beating an Aidan O'Brien horse, Portland, who had a lofty enough rating from running well, I think, in a French Group 1 back end of last season. That rating may flatter Portland, but Purple Lily can only go and beat what is there. Wingspan did it nicely on her debut. She's by Debawi out of the excellent mare Hydrangea. You might remember her from, she won, I think, fillies and mares at Ascot at the end of the season. I think she might have also won a Locken Stakes. No, I don't think it was a Locken Stakes, but she was a group winner over a mile, I think, as well. Group 1 winner over a mile. So very, very talented mare herself. She'd probably want to improve on the bare form. That was very testing ground. I think it was I think that was the student race day at Leopardstown that she won on. So she is going to be going on slightly better ground, and it is going to be a big step up going straight into group racing now for her. And as you said, Caught You Looking, Dec, I don't think she handled Newmarket in the fillies mile. She is probably better judged on her runs at the Curragh. And then you have a few complete wild cards in here, like Belezia by Sayuni, half sister to Tough Talk, who I think beat Little Big Bear in his debut at the Curragh as a 2-year-old a few years ago. So a fast enough pedigree there, also trying 10 furlongs, and Everlasting would want to she'd want to kind of improve on her 1 mile run behind, I think, was brilliant at the start of the season. The Glen Eagles filly for the same trainer, Aidan O'Brien. Azalea as well, definitely looks like a nice filly. Will she need the run though? That's the big question. I know Dermot Well just had his first winner this season, I think there yesterday or today. So his yard has started off a little bit quiet, but to be honest, Dec, it is hard to look by Purple Lily. She was impressive, shaped like this trip would suit. Would I want to back her at even money? Probably not, but I think she's the most likely winner.
Yeah, same as yourself. I do think she's most likely winner. I'd love to see Caught You Looking come out and win this, and it proved to be the horse she showed she could be before Newmarket. Obviously, Steve's not on here, but Steve always tells us you forgive them a run at Newmarket, don't you? So
100%.
It's you have to handle it. It's although it's a straight track, it's quirky as well. Like it's I think for 2-year-old fillies, it might have been bad weather that day as well. Like it must be bleak at the start in Newmarket. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's the only place that's probably more bleak and more open than the Curragh. And it must be
exactly.
It must be, in October, if it's wet and windy at the start in Newmarket, good luck.
Forget about it.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what I'd be saying now. The hand is
Exactly. Throw the jockey, yeah. Up on the hinds, throw the jockey. That's it.
Okay. We'll move on to the 327 1 mile 2 furlongs. The Irish Stallion Farms EBF Spring Series median auction maiden for 3-year-olds. I struggle with this one, Andy, but there's one I'll be keeping an eye on. I think this horse could run well. It's Rock of Ireland. He was 6th on debut at Dundalk in November. He's trained by Barry Fitzgerald, who's, I find his horses run quite well at Navan. I'm not saying he's going to win this, but at a price, I think he'll run well. He's definitely a horse I'll be keeping an eye on going forward. But what tickles your fancy here?
Yeah, first time cheek pieces as well for Rock of Ireland. Wouldn't be without a chance. He did run a nice enough race. Although you would have thought now this race should be a little bit stronger. That's what you would think. But then you do see School of Law in as the 7-4 favourite, and he only has a rating of 80. I'd be a little bit disappointed now if there wasn't something in here rated better than 80, especially at this time of the year. Jack Spriggans, he'd be very much entitled to improve as well. A colt by Make Believe, who ran quite well in a decent maiden, won by Atlantic Coast in August time. I wouldn't say that would obviously set the standard, but like to finish mid-div in that type of current maiden in August, where you could get all sorts in that race usually, and I'm not surprised to see him installed a 6-1. Bucky's taking no chances with him. He'd definitely have a chance. Of the newcomers, I think the most notable one in the betting anyway is Apache Eagle, the top one there. Definitely bred to want to trip. By new approach. It's hard to be kind of confident though at 5-2. Back in debutants at 5-2 is usually how you end up in the poorhouse. And then there's another one obviously that takes the eye, Unavoidable for Donncha O'Brien, 100-30 chance at the minute. He's by Glen Eagles, and again, Donncha can usually have them ready very, very quickly. I would say the bet here is probably, maybe Placelay School of Law. He's around 7-4. I know I don't think I've ever tipped to lay a horse on this podcast ever. I should have done it with Brandy Love in the last one. But School of Law for me at 7-4, it maybe lay him 3 places because there's a few nicely bred debutants in here. And as I said, if 80 can win you this race, it's probably a race not worth following with all due respect. And there's a few nice, well-bred horses in here from decent stables. And I'd say 1 or 2 of them, or hopefully 3 of them, will be able to get the better of School of Law.
That's not like you now, is it?
No, for Mick O'Callaghan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Are you laying him for the place?
I'd probably lay him for a place, yeah. Like looking at, yeah, I know. Like he's had enough chances, like, and he didn't run very well in a maiden at Dundalk behind Air Commander. His previous form isn't bad, I suppose, but like then again, like the pick of it was probably his 4th to Bremen. I wouldn't even say a 2nd to Asian Days. His 4th to Bremen was probably a stronger race, but it's not as if Bremen kind of set the world alight after that. So,
Bremen won tonight, did he?
I didn't see tonight now. No, I think he was. But was he running? Did he win today at Cork?
I think so. I think so.
Here I am saying the form's not worth.
Yeah,
worth the paper it's written on. I should have checked the form before I came on.
We'll have a quick look.
Go on. About to mug me off.
I don't know. It's the app's on its knees here. Hang on, one more go. Cork.
I'm flying through it here. Cork. Solar
Bremen beat Stromberg.
And here I am saying the form's not that strong.
Yeah.
It's a conditions race with 5 runners. Okay. Started quickly, led narrowly early. Okay, fair enough. Look, I could stand corrected, but I still don't think it's the strongest form in the world, given that was going all the way back to Killarney in August. Rated 80, I'd happily play.
Right.
I'd happily play Slam.
Well, if you're not going to have a bet, I suppose I'd have one on Rock of Ireland then. I think he will run a big race, and your lane, Mick O'Callaghan's, give us the name again.
I'm laying School of Law for a place, yeah.
Okay. Look, we'll move on, and we have the return of Kyprios here. It is the 1 mile 6 furlongs SBK Vintage Crop Stakes, a listed race for horses 4-year-old and up. Kiprios, you thought he'd win an arc, Andy.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
It actually only popped back into my head. You thought he'd win an arc.
We had rows over this.
I know, right? He hasn't won an arc.
He hasn't got the opportunity to run an arc.
Well, look, that's because he wouldn't take him to the. How far would he take them in an arc now before the stamina be burned off trying to go to gallop? I think he's a brilliant stayer, but I don't think he's an arc horse. I don't think he'd go to gallop. He's lazy. He's such a grinder. He does have a lot of class about him, but he's definitely not an arc horse for me. And I've been proven right so far. But as I think his record is 0.
It's 0 from 0, yeah.
Okay. He returned from a year off last September. He was second in the Irish Ledger before being just touched off by Trawlerman in one of the.
Sorry, the Cadran?
No, it wasn't the Cadran. It was at Ascot.
Oh, sorry, it's the long distance cup. It's the long distance
at the Mud Festival, yeah. And he looked home and dry, I think, that day, if I remember correctly. But obviously, he sets the standard here, as we just say, like he's a proper stayer with a lot of class. But there's also a pre-tap favourite in here.
The giant himself, yeah.
We don't course on this show, so we can't call him what we like to call him, but when will they show this lad a fence? I'd imagine he'll want faster ground though. Gash in, or we're talking about. Charles Bournes runs one run for Oscar. He did give Zanahir a race in a hurdle race that we covered last autumn. He was third in the Cadran. He hasn't won though since the Cesarovic 22. He does have a bit to find with Don Rising, who's also in here. The one I like to run a big race is Emmett Mullins Postillo. He was very good in the flat for Roger Varian. He's disappointed over hurdles since he moved to Emmett, but I think you could see him. This could be more, we know this is more of his thing. Look, I'm not going to be backing 2 to 5 shots, but I do think Postillo will run a big race. But come on, tell us how Kiprios will win the arc at the end of this season.
I'll do my best. No, I just thought Kiprios never got the opportunity to really run over a mile and a half since, like, he was well beaten in the.
Well, you have to earn that opportunity, don't you? You have to show a bit of speed.
Yeah, he got wrong. He got injured as a 3-year-old. He got upset. I think he ended up like trying to crawl under the stalls in the Queen's Vase at Royal Ascot. I think it was the Queen's Vase at Royal Ascot, and he wasn't seen then again since. He went on to win the Vintage Crop Stakes, I think, or the Vintage Crop Stakes at Navan, and that started an unbeaten season, which I think he won a Vinnie Road and an Ascot Gold Cup, a Goodwood Cup, an Irish Ledger and a Cadran. It was a fantastic staying season, and that race where he beat Mojo Star, like, that's very possible the best Ascot Gold Cup you'll see run in a long time. Like, Mojo Star was another exceptional horse that just had the ability to go these staying trips and could it at a an intermediate trip if he wanted to. It's just very unfortunate that he did get injured, and no real shame in getting beat by Eldarov and Trawlerman last year. They bring him back this season. All being well, there's nothing in here that would lay a glove on him. I don't think there's anything in here that would probably be able to tie his laces, to be honest. Yashin, legend of a horse. He just needs fast ground. He got it last year in the Ebor, but he got no run. He was mullered 2 or 3 times trying to get a run through with Shane Foley. He just needs fast ground. If he gets it, he'll go very well. Could well be second to Kiprios. And look, if he got that in the if he got fast ground in something like an Ascot Gold Cup, if he did stay that trip, I wouldn't rule him out of it. Fast ground in this horse will, he'll take the beating, and it would take a very good one to beat him. He's just not going to get it on the weekend. But yeah, no, it would be Kiprios, Dec, and I don't know if there'd be many horses around I'd be able to give him a race if he does stay fit this season, especially over the staying trips. I'm not going to tip him for the arc.
What price is he? He's not even priced up anymore.
He's 5 to 2 on for the arc. For the arc, sorry, I meant to. No, he's not priced for the arc. No, look, stayers can't do it. Just by the way, like I would have had him in the similar category as Order of St. George. He ran a blinder in an arc.
Yeah, I think
So
stayers can run big races in the arc, and but I think Order of St. George was a lot faster than this guy. And you have other ones, Kingston Hill, I think, placed in an arc. They had a lot more speed than this fella. I don't think he's.
Yeah, the thing I liked about him as well, he was a brother or half brother to Free Eagle, and you know those like Custom Cut I think is in the pedigree as well. Like Polished Gem is a fantastic broodmare. I'll tell you now who she's produced. Kyprios, obviously, Free Eagle, Custom Cut, Search for a Song, Sapphire, Falcon 8, Ama Grace, and Valak. So a lot of them being like serial group winners. Fantastic broodmare. I don't know if Kyprios is the best of them. It's probably still Free Eagle, is it? There wouldn't be much in it now, but
well, it depends what way you look at it. If you mean the best of them, they're faster.
No, without well, Free Eagle won at Prince of Wales, so like
Free Eagle won at Prince of Wales, and he was he going to beat Golden Horn in
he wasn't out of it.
That
was the Irish champion with Found as well, wasn't it?
The Irish champion, Now, if Golden Horn picked up and went away again, but
he was some horse as well.
He certainly wasn't out of it. He was, he was absolutely exceptional. He's the forgotten horse for me. That season he had danced every dance and lost nothing in defeat to Found in the States. Having done everything he done, but Kyprios for me is a brilliant stayer. But look, that they're different. Free Eagle was the Prince of Wales over 10 furlongs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kyprios just wouldn't. After furlong, looking for the new lung. So, Andy, just to finish that off, it's obviously Kyprios, and who are you giving us to follow him
home? If the ground keeps drying out, I think Yashin will follow him home, but he won't lay a glove on him.
Yeah, look, I'd like the ground to be rattling fast now before I start getting stuck into Yashin again this season. Every time he runs, for me it'll be Bastilio to follow him home. We will move on to the 4:35, the 1 mile 5, the first of 2 1 mile 5 races. 1 mile 5 SBK betting podcast handicap for 4-year-olds and up. This
Ours
is
better.
Sorry,
ours is better. Our podcast is better.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. This is 75 carries, 10 stone. The favourite will be a filly, Bay of Sanibel, 4-year-old. She's 1 from 2. This is her handicap debut. She's quite unexposed. But the one I like is Donnacha O'Brien's Newport. He kept on both his handicap starts to date, and he's 5th from Dundalk. He's up 3 furlongs. He's sticking out like a sore thumb to me, and this is probably my bet of the card. But what do you think, Andy?
Yeah, like he's very interesting. All right, like even like you have to go back a long time. Obviously, he's missed time. Debuted 4 lengths behind Continuous in August 2022. Now, obviously, you can't go on that form. It's just too far back. Trachonitis, I think, was the horse that he was 3rd to then on his last run, and I think that was in a nursery as a 2-year-old. And then he came back with a great run at Dundalk. Now there's a few things here that are very significant when you look at this race and you look at this horse. Number 1, he's up 3 furlongs or so in trip. Number 2, Flaxman Stable still own him, even though he's a colt rated 71. And Donnacha O'Brien has persevered. So there's a lot to like. And he's, as I said, a 9-1 shot. I'm trying to work out why Flaxman Stable still have him and why, because it's not as if it's not as if it's a well-bred filly. It's a colt rated 71. So unless they think they might be able to have maybe a bit of fun with him, unless he's just a gentleman of a horse, maybe he's a lead horse for Donnacha O'Brien. Maybe he helps educate the 2-year-olds. I don't know.
Out.
Exactly.
He's still cracked down the pub,
Exactly. Yeah, he might just be the life of the stable. You never know.
He's good for morale. It's important to have people good for morale around. I always say in work, people for morale are, they're just good to have around. Doesn't matter if they're shit at their job. You just have them around. It gets other people doing good things.
That's it. Like I said, I've had a bad day. I'm going to go down and chat to Newport, see how he's getting on. Yeah, look, I think there's a few reasons that, like, obviously are not racing related that make him very interesting. I wouldn't put anyone off him whatsoever. The one I have came down on is down towards the bottom there. Gary Carroll riding for James Barco, a horse called Rain. Another, it's a mare by Sea the Moon, and not over 5 furlongs this time, which is interesting. More over the more traditional 1 mile 5. Look, I thought she ran a really nice race. Back end here off 63. She was beaten 2 lengths at Navan, over a furlong further. Dylan Brown McMonagle rode that day. Now it looked like she needed every yard of it. She was closing, and look, I'd say she will win races this season. It could be maybe over 2 miles. But I'd imagine that race that she ran in the Curragh may have just came a little bit too soon for her. She tried to come from a long way back as well. Just was never going to be getting there. A better ground, I think, is going to suit her as well. Obviously, she's won on testing enough ground in France, but she ran some nice races on okay ground in Ireland as well. And I would imagine now, if she's fit enough to do herself justice, I think she could run a nice race at a double figure price. She's around 12 or 14 to 1. That would do me. But as I said, Dec, if you like Newport there, I wouldn't put you off him whatsoever.
Okay, so it was Rain for you.
Rain, yeah.
Rain, and it's Newport for me. The lad who keeps morale up. Just great to have around.
Great guy.
As the water bottles fill. Just club man of the year. Okay, we'll move on to the finale, the last race of 8 races. Is this the first 8 race? No, I think Leopardstown's for the DRF is 8 races one of the days, isn't it?
We've had a few 8 race cards, I think, have we?
Have we? Yeah. This is the 5-10 1 mile 5 furlong Navan handicap for 3-year-olds and up. So they let the young lads in here. Squire Danaher is favourite at the moment on a treble. I'd nothing really for this race, Andy. And you'll probably get this a lot from me on the flat. I won't be forcing it because you're going to give us all the winners. So let's finish off the first flat card with a nice juicy one.
Yeah, with a bit of luck we will. Obviously, Squire Danaher would have to prove that he'd have to translate that form from the all-weather back to turf, which he's coming here on a hat-trick. That would just be enough to put me off from a 4 to 1. And that's not to say he could go and win it, because he did have okay form on the turf before he started going through that sequence on the all-weather. Great to see Whiskey Sour as well, an 11-year-old there. Andrew Slattery riding 40 to 1 shot. Just great to see him still enjoying life there as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully he runs a big race.
He's owned by Luke McMahon, wasn't
he? Yeah. Legend. Absolute legend.
Was he a Cheltenham winner?
He came there swinging in a county hurdle, and he didn't win it though. And then he ran well as a novice, didn't he? What's that? Did he run the county as a novice? I know he ran in the race at Leopardstown. I think it was it wasn't the Delight, it was the 2 miler at Christmas, and I think him and Sharjah, I think they both fell or something, and something came from a mile back.
Oh, yeah. He was brought down, was it?
He was brought
down Sharjah, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And then I think it was the horse in the red colours. I'm going back too far now. The names are just miss me.
Did he win twice in a week at Galway?
I think he won the amateur race, did he?
Yeah, I think Aubrey might have rode him to win that.
Yeah, I think he won an amateur race, and then he won the big. I don't think he won over hurdles. I think it was the maybe the mile and a half handicap. He might have won as well.
No, yeah, it was on the flat. Yeah,
both on the flat. Yeah, it wasn't a Galway hurdle or anything like that. Yeah, legend of a horse. Loves Galway. Speaking of Galway, I think all eyes are going to be on the top weight teed up. Who clearly loves Galway, whether it's over sticks or on the flat. And I imagine Emmett Mullins and co are working back from Galway, so I wouldn't be backing him or at 7 to 1. Me touching him at 7 to 1 here. The one I'm going to tip, Dec, and what I'm going to say to listeners is back this horse here and just back him the next day as well, because he might need this run, but it's a horse that I have a lot of time for. It's actually Last Ammo. He's around a 20 to 1 shot at the minute. Jack Carney taking £5 off for Richard O'Brien as well. He does on the balance of form, you could argue he looks handicapped to the hilt after winning at Galway, winning at the Galway Festival. There's the Galway Festival, getting loads of mentions there. Winning at the Galway Festival and then finishing an excellent fourth to Jesse Evans at Killarney in a Premier Handicap in a race that worked out quite nicely. The horse didn't disgrace himself then on his next start in the Cesarewitch trial. Sorry, he didn't run too badly. He just didn't stay. Like, he just didn't stay the 2.25 miles, which is, you couldn't hang. You couldn't blame a horse for that, and you couldn't blame Connections for trying it. But he comes back to a more suitable 1 mile 5, and given his form before that run over the 2 miles too, you just wouldn't be sure that he was done progressing. As I said, a 5-year-old who was in the form of his life until he ran over a trip too long. You're taking fitness on trust, but you're also getting 20 to 1, and that's why I'm saying maybe back him here and then back him the next day in case he takes the run. But he's too big a price to ignore here for me. I'd quite fancy him now. If he was wound up to do himself justice, but if he isn't, I'll happily back him the next day at that price as well. Anyway.
Okay, nice one. Give us that again. What's the selection?
It was Last Ammo, number 7.
But it's more for the next day.
I'm going to be backing him here as well. I'm not going to ignore him at 20 to 1. I'd quite like him, and if he blew up or ran quite nicely, I'd be backing him with major confidence the next day.
Would you be giving Feud any chance at all? And you've Richard O'Brien at the Bowie 1 mile 5.
Feud, where he's down towards the bottom, isn't he?
Right down the bottom. Number 16.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Richard O'Brien he's a good man for these sort of races anyway. The only thing is, this one's on stable debut. I don't think he's known to win with horses first time up in the stable. But I do remember Agnes Stewart as well. I think that the dam. I think Eddie Lynham trained that. I think. But anyway, that's completely irrelevant. She was I think she was a miler. She obviously played lawman. The trip is interesting as well, but I wouldn't imagine they'd have any problem with it. But I'd say she'd be best watched now, personally.
Right. Okay. Look, he'd
be best watched. Sorry, he'd be best watched.
Yeah. If there was one, I'd be given a chance. It's probably Feud, but you're probably right. Probably best watched, and maybe I'm more interested the next day. I don't think we have a nap at the top. We'd 8 races to have a go at it.
Didn't sound like it.
No, not one there. But and I enjoyed that, Andy. Thanks very much.
No, it was a pleasure, Dec. I quite enjoyed the switch of tactics or the change of tactics.
Sitting on the other side, did you?
Yeah,
I didn't mind the hosting now. I'll have to get used to it coming over the summer and let you just bang in the winners. But we'll be back on. We said this the other night, but we'll be back on Sunday to cover. To get this right now, the grade ones for the week and the races from Tuesday. And then we'll be back Tuesday night to cover. They've even moved the start time forward on Tuesday, so we can get home and do a pod. That's good. We'll be back Tuesday night then to cover Wednesday and Thursday races, excluding the grade ones, and then we'll be back Thursday night to cover Friday, Saturday races, excluding the grade ones. And that's obviously the Punchestown Festival. Really looking forward to it. I'll be there most days, I'd imagine. Definitely Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm hoping to get there Thursday, and I'll try to get there Wednesday. You'll be there Tuesday, Andy.
I'll be definitely there Tuesday. I'm very much looking forward to that. I can't wait to see Spillane Tower. He's the reason I'd be going down to see him. Can't wait. I've been waiting to see him over 3 miles since he basically crossed the line at Punchestown last year in that hurdle race. So yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, Tuesday's the best day in my opinion for racing wise. It's absolutely brilliant. The 2 mile novice hurdle can be a cracker. The 3 mile, the 3 mile grade 1 novice chase, and obviously you get the champion chase, the 2 mile champion chase. So I've had a couple of texts about Captain Guinness. Was he declared for Sandown?
I don't think so. You got Al Fabiolo and John Bond, didn't you? So I would imagine Henry is going to keep him at home. And I don't think Sandown would really suit me either. I know he's run there before, but like I'd run him at Punchestown before I'd run to Sandown. No?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, I'm really looking forward to I haven't really looked ahead to Punchestown yet at a lot of the entries and stuff. But obviously we'll be back Sunday night to go through it all, that's been tap 45, our first flat tap. Thanks very much, Andy.
No, thanks very much,
And,
Dec. And just before listeners as well, military and
oh,
Navas.
sorry. Yeah, run
Military
through.
Navasa Island, and I'm dutching them in a double with last ammo. They're my main bets on the card because I know a few people just for suggestions and they're dead right. So just recap of my best bets there.
Absolutely. I'm giving Jerry Lyons, my mate Alfie, to run a big race, but my main bet, possibly my only bet, is Newport in the second last race for Donegal O'Brien. Okay, that's been Top 45. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again on Sunday. Cheers.
All the best. Bye bye.